Welcome to the Creation of Living podcast. I'm your host, Heather Nichols, and I'm delighted you're here. Join me for conversations and inspirations for creating way more in every area of your life and living. Welcome, everybody, to the Creation of Living podcast. I'm very delighted to have a dear friend of mine, somebody who I adore, and an amazing lady here with me today, Miss Rachael O'Brien. Rachael is a Joy of Business facilitator, a Talk to the Entities facilitator, a 3-day body class facilitator, and an X-Men facilitator, all specialty areas of access consciousness. And just a brilliant lady, so fun, so magical, so wonderful, such a gift, such a contribution. I'm so happy to have you here with me today, Rachael. Welcome.
For those of you that can't see me, I'm sitting with a big grin on my face. When you see someone that you really respect, and you are one of the people that were the first exhibition of true living caring, with like what is caring for me in my world, as in that infinite caring, in the knowing of what someone requires, in the time that it's required, and how much that interjection of your caring can change their future. There's been times that we won't talk for 9 months, and you'll message me or call me, and they're exactly when I required, a deep reach of someone who really gets my functionality. So I am so grateful that someone like you walks through the world for a freak like me.
Back at you, babe. Yes.
So yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you for you. Really. Yeah. And I wanted to talk to Rachael about the adventure of business and living, which is one of those little, things that we say in the Joy of Business. And, but one of the things about Joy of Business, and we're both Joy of Business facilitators and really love the Joy of Business. I know it's changed both of our lives very, very dynamically. This is one of the places where it really changed things for me, was when I started to realize that my business was really about living. It wasn't about going to work, sitting down to work. It was actually about the joy of creation, the joy of living, and really undefining business as this thing that is hard, that is form and structure, that is significant, the ways that you do it, the ways that you don't do it, and getting into truly the joy of and the adventure of living and creation. And you just are such a beautiful expression of that in the world.
Thanks so much for this. And we've known each other a long time now, and we've watched each other navigate our own realities in, I'll do it my way. And you've got to, with business, you've got to do it your way. We come into a world with so much entrainment on business done from control, which is get it right. You can't get it wrong, from force, from effort. And that's not our reality. That can never work for people like me and you. That, in fact, that I would say that annihilates every capacity for creation that we are naturally a part of.
Yes. Well said. Well said. Yeah.
So when I look at me and you, and how can you time creation? How can you for us, we both have this thing called spherical awareness, which is awareness of all information, how everything works. And how can I say to Heather, sit down at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning and work for 6 hours? I might as well like get out a coffin and tap it in, and you know, it can't ever be this way for us. And because we have been told that it has to be a certain way, this is how we do it, and this is the structure, and this is the form. And one of the things with you and me is that we have really in our we've become oh, we've become diligent in our seeking of what works for us and what is creation for us and the way that we generate our living, which is what you talked about. So one of the things for me is that I know now, if I'm ever going to generate money and be in business, I know that it has to be something that is about making things greater. It it has to it has to be, and this is the adventure. It has to be about creating things as great. It has to be. If I'm being completely honest, otherwise I'm like, okay, boring. You know.
Yeah.
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 Totally. That is, I mean, I'm glad that you said that many times. It has to be, because anybody listening, that's a universe right there that Rachael just basically dropped. That is, I would say, the key to actually success in your business. Which is so contrary to this reality. I remember my dad is a really brilliant investor, has, created a lot of money in the stock market and investing. And I remember talking to him years ago, and there was this company that I wanted to invest in that actually ended up being bought by a company that ended up being bought by Amazon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So this was, I think this was in the mid to late 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, I want to buy stock in this company. And it was because it was a grocery store here in my town. And it was just about to go public. And he was like, like the reason I wanted to buy stock is because I liked the company. I believed in the company, and I was a patron, and, whatever. And he said to me, you really need to keep like your beliefs separate from investing,
Which is a very dominant point of view.
Totally. Totally. And, we had a lot of conversations about that over the years, because he had bought some stock for me in pharmaceutical companies a long time ago. And I didn't want to have that. I didn't want to have my money in those companies, way back in the 90s, when that was, way before everything that has happened right now. But it was so interesting, because he was just like, like money is its own thing and your beliefs are their own thing, and don't mix them. And interestingly enough, so I didn't buy stock in that company. And if I had, it would have actually turned into a lot of money. I followed his advice. But the interesting thing is that at the time I didn't really trust myself when it came to money and investing. I was fairly young, and my dad was the guru in the family and all of that. And so, but I look at it now, and it's like that sense of like, you just know what's true for you, and it's like when you have a sense of the future that is true, that you would like to create, that you're asking for, it's like, that's the only way that you can actually move with your business and move with what you're creating, that is going to make any sense to you. And that's also like the most dynamic way to create money and income, is like, it's lucrative to create a future. It's very lucrative to create a future, way more than anybody in this, in our mainstream business culture will tell you.
the conversation we just stepped into is one as facilitators that we deal with people with their struggle and what is their financial reality and what is their relationship with money every single day that we're alive. I would say that's true for both of us.
Yeah.
And one of the things for me is that I grew up in a very different environment. I grew up in a mother who was separated in Ireland in the 70s. So she had no income, she didn't even get income from government. She just got what her father would give her, £10 or just enough to buy food and look after 2 kids. So for me, I really would have to say that the whole thing of money, I would have went through so much lack and scarcity in my view of money. And then I started to recognize that anytime that I asked for money, or I would tap in, even without even knowing without even being cognitively aware of what I was doing, I started to really take a look at any time I asked for money, it always showed up. So what you're talking about in your conversation is that as a being, Heather didn't have any separation from money. It was able to give you information about where you could put your money to generate more money. And this is one of the things that I am absolutely committed to in changing on our planet, is that we, as beings, money is part of us. We are diminished from the moment that we say, this is how money functions. It's outside of you. You have to get it. It's not part of your reality. And one of the things that both of us are extremely strong on, and for me, I completely ignored this reality of consciousness and being part of money and asking money to come. And it was like, I can't even put words on it, but it was like it was too easy. Heather talks to this supermarket. She gets aware of that if she puts money in, this is a company that's looking to grow as a future. There's a different energy in it. And then you're diminished because you don't look at it as right and wrong, instead of just having the awareness of there's something here that I know that's greater than what anyone can teach me, which is the way you parent your children. And what I really would like us to, for anyone coming across this and they might be saying, what are you talking about? We are talking about a reality of ask and receive. Your point of view creates your reality. And one of the energies that is absolutely annihilated is your being and your knowing of what you can know in regard to money that doesn't explain or fit into anyone else's reality.
Boom.
Yeah. And you know, the next thing that we're going to say is that money cares for you. Huh? What? Yeah. Because every single thing in the planet has a molecular structure. Every single thing has an energy to it. And if we're willing to receive from money and truly ask, am I actually willing to receive what I'm asking for? We're in a completely different reality to the one that we're entrained to. Yeah. And everything, the biggest thing that I've learned from me, Rachel, to get to know me, everything I've ever been taught about money is nothing to do with the reality of consciousness. It's nothing to do with ask and receive. It's nothing to do with money cares for me. Am I willing to have it? Am I willing to allow it? And I can do all the tricks with business. I can put up 1 billion classes per year. I can have the best landing pages. But it's the being of your presence that is the administrator of your business. And
love that.
And we know it, don't we? We know, because if I was to say to you, Heather, tell me a project that worked for you, I bet you it was the one that was most fun, that you asked, that you were present with it, and you were willing to receive it.
Yeah, totally. And willing to receive it. That's such a key piece. Well, that's just such a key piece in everything, is our willingness to receive. That nobody talks about. I mean, not really talk about the adventure of living. It's like the willingness to receive and the willingness to be greater, which is so what it's like when you step into the creation of a greater future. That's exactly what's required. Like if you are willing to create a greater future, it's because you're willing to be more, which directly translates into your willingness to receive more. And there's this, I mean, it's amazing to look at like what you just said. What popped for me so right now well, you know this, we've chatted about this. You inspired me to choose this, to become a 3-day body class facilitator, and access, specialty that actually has like a very, very high prerequisite, for what you need to do to accomplish that, to have the certification. And I had started creating it 7 years ago, and then I stopped and was like, oh, it's too much work, blah, blah, blah. And it's been so cool. Yeah, it's been so cool because what's showing up now, like what you really invited me to, and other people that I've chatted with, it's like, it's like the creation of that, all of those prerequisites and everything that I'm doing is, it's such a, it really requires a massive expansion of receiving. And so I'm really seeing that now. And what's been so amazing is I was just saying this we were having this create call this morning for this class, this online telecall that I'm doing called Body Show Me, coming up in January, in a couple of weeks. And I was saying, every time I ask myself, what is the future that I would like to create? What's the future that I know is possible for the planet? What would I like to see on planet Earth? Bodies are always like the first thing that pop for me. But I haven't, facilitate stuff on bodies and in other ways. Right. But I haven't done this 3-day body thing. But it's always bodies talk to me. I love my body. Like, I have so much fun with my body. I really enjoy exploring possibilities, and, so it's so cool because I was sort of holding that at an arm's length for a long time, where I was like, okay, yeah, whatever, bodies. But I can do that in my business classes, and I can do that in my, and I do, and about right after you and I had a chat, whenever that was, 6 weeks ago, a month ago, something, I went, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to choose to become a 3-day body facilitator. And then all these other things started to show up, where it was like, and that body book that I've been wanting to write, it's time to do that. And, so, because I have a really cool story of like dynamically changing my body, like around a lot of health stuff that went on when I was a teenager. And it took decades, actually. And it took me finding access consciousness and really listening to my body. But it was like, all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm going to choose this future. Like, I'm actually finally going to choose this future that I've been kind of like thinking that I was choosing, thinking that I was creating, but not directly saying yes to, of becoming a 3-day body facilitator, writing this book, and then this Body Show Me class. We're going to write the book in the class, basically. So the calls are going to be, we're going to transcribe them and develop them into a book. And we're inviting people to contribute to the book by being part of the class.
I mean, writing a book is easy? What's wrong with you?
I know, right? It's like, oh, let's do a telecall and we'll transcribe it, and then somebody else will develop, and then I'll add, and it's just like, it's just all showing up, and all these people showing up that are like, yes, I want to host you for body classes, and da, 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 da. So all of like, it was like saying yes to that I didn't realize I hadn't really been saying yes to, but saying yes in a different way that wasn't a choice I had been willing to make previously, has totally changed my business, totally changed my income. Like everything has just exploded. And there's so many people now that are like, how can I contribute to you? Yes, I would like to contribute to you, and so much showing up from that. And it's been so cool to see, like, just in an even greater way and a deeper level, like, really there are these things that we know. And every single one of you listening now and in the future, like, what's true for you. You can be asking, like, what is the future that I would like to create with my life and living, and it's going to probably be more of an energy than where you're like, oh, because for me, it was just like bodies in the earth, whatever that is, and I didn't need to define it. But when you say yes to it and you choose it, it's like the energy of that just increases everything, and your receiving just goes through the roof. And I mean, it's been so cool to see what's been showing up for me from this choice. So
I mean, you said so many things that we could break down and have conversations about. The big thing is that if you step into what we're inviting you here, which is business done from receiving, there's a whole new universe available to you, and nobody is going to tell you this. This is something that you have to develop for yourself. What is that? And in the receiving, you see, there's a much bigger play out here of, if you have a history of self-hatred, Heather talked about body stuff as teenagers, you know, and both of us have had our experiences with self-hatred, body hate, body shaming. And one of the things that has transformed for me massively is I like the girl looking at the back in the mirror now. You know what I mean? I hated her. And I've got over all my obsessions with food. I genuinely have recovered. I fully recovered from the insanity with food, which is another maybe conversation. And so one of the things now is that I'm actually willing to recognize, and you were one of the big parts of this energetically more than what you know, is that I actually recognize how different I am now. And I didn't, because I fought it. I mean, Irish were taught to fight, and I was fighting a battle that wasn't mine, you know. And so one of the things that we would love for you to even take a bite off, or maybe sit with and say, do I actually like myself? Do I actually see myself as a gift, as a contribution? And there's something dynamically shifts and changes in your business when you're willing to go, hang on a second, I can bring the gift of what it's like to be alive to the planet. I can receive the gift of what it is to be alive. And if I infuse that into other people's embodiment, because God knows we live in a world where stress is predominant at the moment, and people's bodies are like, you know, continuously compressed and contracted for whatever reason, or whatever story of who they have to take care of, or who they have to look after, what's their responsibilities. So when you really step into business from being the gift and contribution, which is what Joy Business is based on, that's to truly be contributed to, is such a wondrous gifting and receiving. And for me, I'm going to Kuwait in a couple of weeks' time, and I am genuinely humbled that people in Kuwait are like, hey, can you come and do a 3-day body cast? Like I'll be one of the first Westerners to go into a country that I grew up as a child, which was a no-go zone. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And to be part of people coming into a room and not being diminished because of their sex or their gender or whatever, their color, skin, whatever, is, I don't want to say that I don't know how it works, but I do want to say that I am continuously mesmerized by how misunderstood the miracle of when you give gift, peace, and ease to someone else's body and reality, the receiving that occurs of yourself in that reality.
Wow. Full body goosies. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And for me, Heather, you know, just like you, consciousness is undeniable. I won't deny consciousness for anyone. You know, there's this energetic force and source that builds planets or stars, and energy, space, and consciousness has allowed me to extrapolate and support me and care for me in ways that I didn't even know was possible until I did. So, so what we are inviting you to with the adventure of living is to be present. What lights you up? What is the gift of being alive and having a body for you? Because God knows not many people ask you that. And we would even, like, we would like to ask you that today. Like, what is that adventure for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Truly. What is it? Yeah. I love that. I love that. And, you like, there's so many energies woven into this conversation. Like the conversation is occurring so much more energetically than it is in the words. And of course, there's some really brilliant words being spoken. And this is where you can just even start right now to practice that. Because if this is making you feel lighter, if you're having a sense of like relief or peace or ease or hopefulness or whatever in your world, one of the things that people do a lot of times is go, okay, well, I need to have that. How can I, but I invite you to just refrain from that. And all you have to do right now is start sort of practicing, or practice more if you already have been, but what we're talking about, which is ask for it, and it's like you perceive something as a possibility. It's this beautiful invitation for you. And then it's like, okay, universe, whatever it takes, I'm going to have that. I don't know how, I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't have to know how. I don't have to know what it's going to look like. I just know I'll have that. And, keep going, like see where your day today takes you. What are the choices you can make today that you didn't think you could make? What's available to you right now that you didn't think was available? What's possible, and you just sort of be the curiosity of that, and then choosing it, and allowing the universe to really surprise and delight you with what shows up.
I'm in.
Yeah, me too. Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we do ask for is, are you asking for ease? Like, are you asking for ease with business, with your body, with creation, with the area that you're living in as a parent, in all of these areas? Are you asking for ease and peace and abundance? And
and it actually will, if you do ask for it and you're willing to have it and you're willing to choose it, it will show up. It takes longer than you want, because we're all very good at being patient, but that's okay. Just get busy with other things in the meantime. Just create.
Just keep going.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. This is just beautiful. And where can people find you for more Rachael? I would like more Rachael, please.
You check out accessconsciousness.com and search Rachael O'Brien, Rachael O'Brien, or you can go to rachaelobrien.org. And one thing, and one thing, you can find us, you can find us. There's a lot of material out there, a lot of videos out there. It's all about you, what works for you. And I suppose our hope in coming together is that someone out there like us 10 years ago is listening, and they find the jewel that leads them on the trail of what really is going to, we're not satisfied with limitation.
Yep.
So what's going to lead you to what you're looking for? And it's there.
It is. And now is the time like never before to just know and to really begin to create that as a reality.
Yeah. Yep. How does it get any better? And what else is possible?
Yes.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being my friend.
Yeah, thank you. I adore you. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me for the Creation of Living podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and leave me a review. If you would like more, you can find all kinds of resources and upcoming events at heathernichols.com. Until next time, remember, my beautiful friends, the world thrives when you do.